Start recording. So we are good to go. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me as well.
Very well. Let's start with the basics. What is your name and what do you do, like in general?
Yeah. So my name is Greg. I live in the eastern United States in Pennsylvania. Um, Professionally, as a lot of your kind of contributors here have been, I'm a software engineer. Done that for 20 years, roughly.
Woohoo.
Um, Outside of that, much like yourself, I'm a dog parent. Molly may make herself present during this meeting. What else do I do? I like to ride bikes. I think I've heard that from other folks on here, and I go fishing. That's something I haven't heard from other contributors here. Um, I don't actually do a lot of software work unprofessionally. While I will play around, I actually don't do much of that in my personal life. Personal
So
life is more taken up being outside, fishing, and those kind of things.
I see, I see. So basically, you work on the computer professionally, but otherwise, you won't do any hobbies related to programming or such.
At least not much. It's like a tertiary concern. It's like after I get done with work, it's like ride bicycle, see nature, and then if I'm still not tired, maybe I'll play with the computer.
Okay. That's good because in the message when you messaged me for this call,
Mm-hmm.
you told me about your background, the fact that you are doing programming, you use Emacs for that. So of course I'm curious about that. But then what
Mm-hmm.
caught my attention is all the other things. You mentioned simplicity in particular, and then all
Mm-hmm.
these outdoorsy activities. And I
Yeah,
see
yeah.
a thread that goes through all these, like from Emacs to the outdoors, and there is a thread which is simplicity.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, and there's probably like numerous ways people get into it, but I see the same thing. Like there will always be an interest in something that the person can see wholly. Like nature hides things, but it doesn't hide much. It's all there
mhm.
for you to see, and I think that does bring the two of them together for sure.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Very good, very good. So we will explore this theme at length.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
let's start with Emacs. Tell me a little bit about your Emacs, the workflow. What do you do professionally? What are the requirements? What kind of setup do you need? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, currently, I've not always been an Emacs user professionally. I used it long ago in university without really knowing much about it. It was like if you connected to a server to submit your assignments, Emacs was there, and if you had to make a quick modification, that's where you would do it. Um, Professionally, I started using it after I learned Clojure, probably like 6 years ago, maybe five, somewhere around there. And I learned Clojure by reading a book. The author insists that you use Emacs to do it. He like sends you to his configuration in the book, which is interesting.
Which book is that? I think I know, but if you recall,
Uh,
if you don't
I
know, don't
think
worry. Yeah.
it's. I might butcher the name, which I apologize if I believe it's called like Closure for the Brave or something for that to that effect. Um, and it's a good book. It does teach you the language pretty effectively if you don't know it. But the thing I took most from it was like, you must use Emacs to do this, and I'm like, that's generally not the approach of like an author. And so I played with it, brought it to my workplace, and kind of evolved from there. Like initially, I used it kind of plain for quick edits. Then I used it with one of the starters like Doom Emacs, and then eventually I was able to understand enough of it to use it for everything. And I've used it now in two workplaces, really various pieces of technology. Like, my current workplace, there's a lot of JavaScript, a lot of Python. It handles those perfectly well. The previous workplace actually used a very proprietary database system, and so I was using Emacs within that, and there was great support for it. It was like better than some of the like commercial offerings, which was interesting, and so
Oh,
it's really done well. For if you change what you work on is what I would say.
I see.
Um, Especially if you like if you change jobs or change languages at a job, you don't have to lose everything to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good point because, like, if you optimize for one language and now you have the editor, which is great for that language, and you switch jobs, you need to retool everything.
Or worse, if they give you a paid one. I've had jobs
Hmm.
pay for expensive commercial editors and then IDEs, and then if you want to leave the job, you might be losing some of your capability in a way. So it's been very good for that. And then from there, I've gone and delved into org mode and things like that. And I do use in my personal life like org mode to organize my tasks and my notes and things like that. And so Emacs is spread out of work to other things.
Yeah, yeah, I see, I see. And it's interesting how this connects to the point of simplicity, because to the point you mentioned earlier about switching jobs, it's easier to think in terms of here is something stable, the jobs change, but this is a constant. And then, of course, you extend
Absolutely.
that to your life. Like I go home, I use the
Absolutely.
same thing.
Absolutely. Like it is I think it comes down to maybe Vim is similar, but like how Emacs's command structure, if you use outside of like evil mode, is very consistent. Like Control C for the user things. Each mode will have its own region of keybinds and things like that. It's a very compartmentalized way of thinking and working, and then it's consistent. You come out of Python and you go into JavaScript, and if you are using whether you use any of really the packages for an LSP, like the controls, like to go to a definition, to go outside of a function, to go outside of a class, and they're the same.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't really, you really get to the point where it is the semantics of the language is the only thing you really care about, and the rest of it just happens the same way. You navigate the same.
Exactly, exactly. So you have like a consistent interface, and then whatever you're
Yeah.
dealing with, it's for you to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you know ubiquitously available. You can run Emacs almost if you have a computational device of some sort that runs any modern operating system. You can get it, like no
Uh-huh.
matter what they give to you, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. This is something I personally have not experienced because I run Linux exclusively. But I
Hmm.
understand that Emacs is basically the same on Windows and on the Mac, minus some toolkit differences, maybe.
Yeah, and if you are willing to go into the terminal, it's the same everywhere. And that's
Uh-huh.
really like the beautiful part is like one thing that I've done, which is very funny, is like so if you use any of the cloud providers, but this is specific to AWS, to Amazon, to do your work, there is like a little terminal you can bring up inside the cloud environment. I think they actually bring you up a little virtual machine and just show you it in a web browser. But if you go in there, you can run full Emacs. You can pull packages down to it and like extend it in this like little ephemeral terminal, and it's the real thing, and it's great.
Yeah, yeah, of course you can. I mean, if they give you a shell, basically you're good to go.
Yeah, if you're in, you're in. But sometimes you get a shell and you don't have like administrator, you can't,
Ah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
escalated privileges, you can't install something. But because Emacs is there, and Emacs just loads its own eLisp code, you got a way around it.
Ah, yeah, 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 of course, of course. And I imagine now the security people are
Somebody
calling.
at Amazon's like,
Right.
Cloud Shell is compromised by Emacs.
Very
But
good.
it is very good like that. It's refreshing to know that if you change jobs, if you lose your computer, you'll be able to get back to what you want to use,
No, no,
which
yeah,
is
that's
great.
reassuring. Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
How is your configuration in terms of overall complexity or depth, breadth? How would you describe
Pretty
it? Like,
pretty simple. Yeah, like when I was using Doom Emacs, and especially I was when I was speaking of that earlier job, I was using like Oracle's database system.
okay.
Working around that tool chain, my configuration was pretty big, but currently not much. Like I use like Vertigo and those related packages for like completions and the mini buffer and things like that. And I use I think it's now in I have Emacs 30 at work and I think I have 31 at home. I think both of those now have support for I always butcher the name of the inbuilt LSP package.
Yeah, I think nobody
Uh,
knows how it's pronounced. It's either egglot
yeah.
or eglot or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I use that as opposed to the like original like third party LSP one. And that's when you are working outside of like the Lisp ecosystem, if you have that, you have enough to work on almost any language because like it offloads a lot of the work to a third party tool.
Yeah, 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 and
Um,
that's the whole innovation there, which really powers up your editor. It doesn't need to be a specialized IDE anymore.
Yeah, although sometimes I find myself laughing because the whether it's Clojure or eLisp, the actual tooling for those is better than what the
Yeah, of course.
but like it does it enables what I want, which is to go rapidly from thing to thing without much drama or much problem. Um, I started using what is this tree sitter to do the syntax highlighting as well. I haven't really explored that much, so my configurations for these things are 15, 20 lines of eList, mostly to configure keybinds that I find better or at
Uh-huh,
least
uh-huh.
useful that are probably stuck in my brain from something 10 years ago, and not much else. And then I'll have like eList helper scripts to like just deal with a couple things that I've like find myself doing in text frequently. Like I know people will use the record macro functionality to do a lot of like repetitive things. I tend to try to write those things in eLisp
Mm-hmm.
instead to
Mm-hmm.
try to get familiar with the underlying like interactive commands for some of the like repetitive actions that you just take on a keyboard. So rather than recording them, I sort of like to learn what they're actually called.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but
that's
even
good. But actually, just to
you,
say,
hmm?
you can record the keyboard macro, and then you can do Control X, Control K, Control E to edit it. And in the edit buffer, it has the names of the commands you were calling by key.
Absolutely. Except for when I do that, I find myself doing extraneous actions that weren't actually required to get to where I want to do, and they work. But I go reading there, I'm like, why is there move character backwards 6 times, move character forwards 3. I'm like, oh, it's because I was hitting arrow keys on my keyboard idly while doing this. But it is incredible. Like that is, when we were talking before about simplicity or maybe like things are obvious to be seen, that should be obvious. A macro is just a recorded set of commands. It shouldn't be two different things. And it isn't, of course, in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Which
good.
is awesome.
Yeah, 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 very good. The thing, though, I like the practice you mentioned of, okay, this is basically an opportunity for me to practice Emacs Lisp. And you
Well,
do it with
exactly.
something where you have like a very concrete example of what you want the results to be, what you want the behavior to be like.
Yeah. I sort of assume, but I don't actually know that is how one gets to where you are, where you maintain packages for Emacs, but they're very targeted on like what you want to do, I think. And I guess that's a question. You like, is that true? They're like
It's
a
absolutely
personal
true.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely true. It's basically what I kind of hate in all these programming courses or exercises is here is the most contrived example you can imagine. Now figure out the solution. And I'm like, no, I don't care about this. Give me something that I don't care about what is the most efficient way to feed reindeer so that Santa is on time.
hmm
It's
The,
not my
the
problem.
same is the same is nearly true of like people will look for what can I do to learn the program, and it's like in my head I'm like be annoyed at something, be really annoyed at it to where you care about how you fix it. Like this is a weird personal example, but like I keep a journal, and I'm not very dogmatic about it, but I keep it pretty frequently. And one side effect of that is like needing to archive and clean up files and so on and so forth. And so I've like a method, kind of probably like you do with Denote, but that I've had before Denote existed, of naming the files and then how I move them to archive them. And anytime I'm learning a new programming language, the first thing I do is I have a script that archives the current month
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I rewrite it. And
Ah,
like that is
that's good.
my very first one. And that I suggest people just have that annoyed me. I used to do it by copying and pasting and things like that. And I really care about moving those files.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this now reminds me of a discussion I had some time ago with a person named Ronnie, who said something
Mhm.
similar. Like, I have this application, and whenever I learn a new language, I re-implement it in that language.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
It will teach you what you, I guess, want to know about it, right? Like, you know, you can go into any language and you can make a video game. You can make a chat GPT, probably if you took your time. But that's not your problem. Well, maybe it is, but it's not my general problem. My problem is moving my journal to where it needs to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always the most didactic, or let me phrase it a little bit differently. It is didactic, of course, but for me, it's also the most sustainable because I have like a desire for this and I want to keep going. It's not something I just have to make up as a reason to
Oh,
continue.
yes, yes. It's solving a need as opposed to like solving a curiosity or just an interest to learn. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, things like that help people learn and keep focused for sure. I think, curiosity for curiosity's sake only gets you so far. Sometimes you need a test to keep you on focus.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And I think also, like, if you are in the habit of pursuing curiosity for its own sake, that comes with the latent downside of distracting you eventually, where it's
Oh,
like
yes, because you will. Yes,
there's always
yes,
something more to
completely.
be curious about. Like, yeah.
You will find a new topic as soon as the winds change. Absolutely.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I think those things are good. The only thing I would add about Emacs that is new to me is I've actually been attempting to use Emacs, so you can compile or download a precompiled Emacs for Android, and that is interesting. Um, and so that has actually been the only hobby project I would say I've been doing for the past month or so. And it's so interesting because it works, but it doesn't work, and it's very fun. You would think of Emacs as very self-contained, but it sort of assumes it lives in a world with like a normal Unix command line, and Android is like, no, you can't install your command line tools here.
Okay, yeah, yeah. It's something I have been meaning to explore as well, but on the other hand, I know that it's a rabbit hole with no end. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to go down that path. Because I
Yeah.
imagine there is utility to it. Like, practically, if you have it on your phone or a tablet, it's practically useful. But it's also a nice toy and an exploration of something different.
Yeah, I'm curious about it mostly in that I mentioned earlier like going out to go fishing or going out to ride a bike and explore. I don't know if overall we have everybody walking around with smartphones today, and we have lots of people saying that's good or it's bad, and really we probably have no idea. But the idea of computing that you can bring with you anywhere is probably pretty good. We're comfortable to sit here at a desk for an hour or two and speak, but human beings were not designed to do this, I don't think. Um, and so having a computer where you actually would be naturally is interesting to me. And it's actually like the computing that's the worst in terms of like freedom right now. Like most phones are completely locked. Um, it's sort of telling that it's actually difficult to edit a plain text file on a mobile device.
Yeah, yeah.
And Emacs does give you that, like a use cases is like just simply bookmarks for your web browser, right? Like on most mobile devices, that's you can use the browser, but if you wanted to save some prose about like what you read on this website, almost like a web journal of sorts, you can do that with Emacs. You just have an org mode file sitting on the phone, and it's immediately relieving and useful, and it works in fun ways. Links work. Emacs link opens up your web browser like it would on a computer, and so it is a
Uh,
rabbit hole, but it's one I'm enjoying the idea of due to my own proclivities, and I'll see how it goes. One thing that is difficult is like unless you want to do something complicated, you can't use Git. Um,
okay, okay. In the sense that you cannot use many of these Unix tools, you mean? Like,
exactly. And there's two ways to run Emacs on Android. One of them is this thing called Termux, which is like its own terminal, and then you run Emacs in terminal mode in there. And there you can do these things. But the actual like Emacs compiled as an Android app, then you need to do crazy things to get your command line tools. And they're possible, but they're very obnoxious.
Okay, I see. Sounds
It's like,
tough.
yeah, and I don't generally write or blog like you do, but I think if I continue down this path, I will, because it's poorly documented. Like if you install Emacs for Android, the help talks about Android, and it's like it mentions this, but it is really left very ambiguous for the user. And like, if we want Emacs to be available on these things, we should make it so people can figure it out quite easily. And so that may be my first direction of like being like, okay, I need to write and contribute because this was a pain in my behind when I tried to do it.
Okay, sounds good. Yes. And of course, if you can, yes, please do it.
Yeah. I think it's going to take. Right now, I'm in the learn phase and find out which things are bad. And then once I come from there, then I can make like a good distilled bit of knowledge about it. Right now, all I can do is complain.
That's a good place to start, though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Because first you complain, then you say, okay, nobody is fixing it, so I will.
Yeah. And I mean, it is even in its state, it's surprisingly relieving to have that there. Like the regular software for phones and things like that frustrate me to no end, and it's like breath of peace. Like it is annoying to use you. You're very unrefined. Perhaps in 5 years this will be better, but it is still Emacs. I can still go into like Emacs Lisp and do a quick calculation. I can write code. It's not restricted. It's nice.
Yeah, I will experience it at some point as well, hopefully, and share my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, please. I mean, I hope more people do it. It is definitely it's an area we haven't used much, and if the general public is anything to go by, like these, full laptops and desktops are not what we're going to be using as much in 20 years, like that everybody else, the people who are not writing code, people who are not running Linux, they only want to use a laptop if it's work. They don't want to use it.
Yeah. For sure. And having it on that platform, of course, makes total sense.
Yeah. Emacs is the ultimate virus. It goes everywhere and it infects the computer. It infects them with the good thing, but that is its benefit. It runs that we were talking earlier. It runs everywhere, and you can have your peace and your freedom almost anywhere, which is great.
And of course, support for Android is fairly new. I think in Emacs 29 it was first started, or even 30. 30 is the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The one that I have is like 30 in some minor patch version that I'm running on there.
I think that's
I didn't have an Android device before, so I don't know exactly when it started. This was something Yeah, I mean, it works remarkably well. Like it is startlingly normal Emacs, aside from like, as you would imagine, key chords are sort of interesting with like, you're on a soft keyboard and it's weird.
Sure.
But even that's been thought of. Like Emacs itself has like a menu mode you can add above or below the menu bar to give you like common modifier keys. And so even if the default Android keyboard you have doesn't account for it, Emacs, whoever contributed that thought of it.
Yeah. I think the driving force behind that project was a developer named Paul Lu. At the time, at least, I was looking at the commits, and Paul was doing a lot of work there. I don't know if it's the sole contributor, but it was definitely a driving force behind it.
I mean, I'm happy to see his work. I'm happy to like play with it and learn what to do with it, because I really do think that there's some value in not sitting at a desk to learn computing, and we haven't solved that yet. Like, it's difficult and bad for the human being to sit in a chair this long. And so I hope that this is a step in the right way. Because otherwise, you're going to have, Google Chrome and ChatGPT as your only mobile app, and you're not going to be able to do what you and I are accustomed to doing with a computer.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You mentioned closure earlier. So,
Mhm.
have you done any work on that, or was it just to learn it and then eventually you didn't use it?
I did use it briefly, but not in anything large. That project that I was working on at the time involved migrating lots and lots of data from one storage system to another.
Okay.
And so we used Clojure in a like we experimented with it in the workplace as a like comparison for doing some of this transformation work in Python as like an alternative. And it was effective. It was easier. How would I word this? It was easier to do simple things in Clojure than it is in Python, even
Okay. Okay.
for this kind of like data pipelining. But I've not built anything big in it. Like usually professionally, like 90% of my work is Python and JavaScript. So like
Hmm.
if I were to write like comparison of amount of code written, it'd probably be like under 5% of what I've written or something like that. So
Okay.
very small. It was curiosity that I got to put into a little practice.
I see, I see, I see. Yeah, I was curious to hear about that because basically the selling point of Clojure is simplifying now. You put some Lisp around whatever language you are using, and now you have your comfortable editing environment. Like instead of Java, you have Clojure. Instead of JavaScript, you have Clojure script, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean there's numerous of that. There's a Lisp for Python that's available as a Python package called Hi.
Okay.
There's quite a number of those kind of like resident Lisps. Um, Clojure, yeah, I've written Java before. When I first started working, I wrote Java. Clojure is much better ergonomically than Java. Um, but I think Clojure has some of its own merits by its like immutable versus mutable types. Like it does. It's not just a Lisp in that there's a lot of worry about like concurrency and safety in the language for you to do things in
Mm-hmm,
parallel,
mm-hmm.
which like is very good. But Clojure's superpower is what you mentioned in that like it's resident in these other languages, but its superpower is those languages are popular and trusted and available in workplaces, and so Clojure's like corporate Lisp.
Yes, yes, exactly.
It's like, yeah, you won't be fired for suggesting it, um, or at least you won't be like
Laughed at.
relegated. No, and it's quite good. Like I liked it. It's tough when you write so much code in other languages to evaluate languages. Like I would say, like ELISP feels unproductive to me because I've used it so much less than other languages. But that's a function of me, not the language. And I think Clojure's sort of the same way. Like if I think of it objectively, I actually think it's a very good language. Um, and I think now gaining more popularity. Like I've not looked, but I think that like it continues to get like good popularity from like workplaces using it.
Yeah, yeah, sounds right. Yeah, it's my impression as well.
Yeah, I've never used it to do the JavaScript, the front end side of things.
Hmm.
I assume that's interesting. Um, I assume it's very similar. There's this TypeScript, which is like safer JavaScript, if you will. That I assume the ergonomics are similar to Clojure because what happens is like you compile the Clojure to JavaScript or you compile the TypeScript to JavaScript, and so like you have like these two layers of
Hmm.
abstraction between you and what actually gets run,
Yeah.
um, which is probably actually like incredibly frustrating. I assume that that's really annoying.
Yeah, it's a different workflow, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
different
very different than like
requirements.
yeah, like Clojure on top of Java is much more sensible in that like Clojure is just like a virtual environment that runs in Java. I think the JavaScript one it actually compiles to it, which is weird.
Yeah, yeah,
But maybe
exactly.
one day, not today. Whenever I do front end stuff, it's just plain old JavaScript for me.
Okay, okay. Yeah, understandable. I mean, ultimately, you are doing a job and it's not a game. You have to justify
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's switch gears because I want to get to all the naturalist activities, let's say. So,
Sure, sure.
you mentioned fishing earlier, you mentioned cycling, and I
Mhm.
imagine in these, of course, you also have implicit the fact that you go outdoors to the countryside. So yeah, tell me a
Yep.
little bit about this, and also in this context, you may also tell me about the region you are in. Like, do you have forests,
Yeah,
lakes,
absolutely.
mountains? What is it like?
Well, Pennsylvania, I guess I could start with that. Is Pennsylvania is like a little bit, or at least where I am, is a little bit inland from the ocean, and so it's not mountainous. There are hills, but they're small. Like there's a mountain range that straddles the east coast of the U.S. that goes through Pennsylvania, and it's about 30 miles west of me, called like the Appalachians. But
Yes,
they are very old mountains, and now they're much eroded and shorter. And so, mountain in the 2,000 foot range, not in the 20,000 foot range.
I see.
Um, and because of those, there's lots of rivers and valleys and such. And so, Pennsylvania is very like forest and rivery as like a general type of terrain. There is lots of like Pennsylvania used to be famous for like coal mining, and so there is lots of like mines and rocky outcroppings scattered about. But when I think of Pennsylvania, I think of a river valley, and that's probably because I live in one.
I see, I see. And what kind of tree is dominant there? Like conifers, or like what kind of vegetation do you have?
It's it's pretty well mixed. So you have oak, you have like a decent amount of evergreen trees, but they're more in like the higher places. Um, to be honest, I don't know too much about the species of tree, only to say that, like there are a lot. I know oak by like the way that their trunks look and things like
Uh-huh,
that.
uh-huh.
Wherever there's water and creeks, you'll find oak trees nearby here. Um, there's nothing really. I don't think there's any like iconic or local only to this area trees though. Um, at least not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I
Um,
see.
but it's like generally, unless it's developed land, which Pennsylvania has lots of people, especially in a couple of spots of it. Uh, Pretty dense forestry, at least in the eastern part of the state, and I think the western part is the same. In the middle, I think there's kind of like a bit of farmland, um, but it's quite nice if you like hiking around and you like fishing. It's good, gentle terrain for both. Like you'll find hikes that are easy, and if you like fishing, like it is a great place to learn to fish.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
So tell me about that. So what skills does somebody who fish require?
Skills, patience. That's about it. Like the act of fishing is easy. No matter, that you'll hear people talk about different methodologies for fishing, be it like fly fishing or traditional spin casting. People in Japan have a version of fishing that's called tenkara, which is similar to fly fishing. The mechanics of that you can
But
teach a
you have to
child
tell
most
me
of the
now
time.
because me, I know nothing. So you have to tell
Oh,
me, okay, what
so
is
like,
fly fishing? What is this? What is that? So,
I
of
mean,
course,
most of it
I'm
comes.
sure I have seen it somewhere, but I don't
Yeah.
know it. Like, if you tell me, okay, what's this technique called? Like, I'm like, it's just fishing, mate.
Oh yeah. So the predominant thing comes down to what you are trying to entice the fish to bite. And so most of the time when you think of fishing, you think of like what's either like I guess you call it like spin casting, but regular fishing is like you have a rod, the rod has a reel, and the reel has like a thin line on it. And at the end of that line, you put something somewhat heavy with a hook, and you flick that thing into the water, and sometimes you let it sit, and sometimes you move it. But the idea really is that like there's a heavier thing at the end of the line, and you kind of swing it, and then it pulls the line out.
I see.
And and that's like most of what people think of for fishing. Um, when you hear people talk about fly fishing or even like Japanese tenkara fishing, the main difference is what they're fishing with is much smaller, and so it's not it doesn't weigh several ounces. You cannot fling it into the water, and so what's really different with those is the lure is very light, and the line will have some weight to it, and
Okay.
so you are not throwing the lure, you're throwing the line, and the lure follows it.
Ah,
Um, but and you will often hear that like fly fishing I guess is like more difficult to do because like the mechanics of making the line go, it's difficult because it's a rope instead of a weight is a little bit harder. But only in that, like, perhaps regular fishing takes a child 20 minutes to learn and fly fishing might take 2 hours. It's not very, very difficult. The hard part is not being frustrated when it doesn't work because you are dealing with nature and your own failings. And then the hard part is just being alert and observational. Like, some fish are pretty dumb and aggressive and they will bite anything that goes near them. But, just like most animals, most fish are pretty clever in terms of like understanding that, like, you would think the fish doesn't look out of the water. The fish absolutely look out of the water. And if you throw a shadow over them, they hide. And like if you shake the ground and they detect it, they also become suspicious and things like that. And so like, it behooves you to be patient and careful or you will not get many fish. And sometimes you'll just get no fish because it's that kind of day. And that's it. The essential skill is really patience, I think. But it is same as probably anything that encourages you to walk around in nature. It is a very good calming hobby if you can get over the frustration of not being patient.
Yeah, but I think even that, meaning the fact that rewards don't come quickly, has a calming effect because it kind of teaches you to slow down.
Oh, and it humbles you, right? Like if
And it
you were to
humbles you.
win easily, you would think of yourself as really good. And like that's not good for growth. That's good for claiming growth, but it's not actually good for it. So yeah, it's quite fun. I actually, when I was younger, I grew up near the coast, so I did not like fish for things in the river, and so like I would go fishing occasionally, and then perhaps like 10 years ago, after I'd moved inland a bit, I went fishing a couple times, and honestly, really disliked it. But it was a really good excuse to be out. We got a dog. Uh, my girlfriend and I got a dog. The dog obviously loves to just amble around in nature. And so, like, it was a really good way to get her out and enjoying herself and, you know, freeing her brain. Like, you have two dogs, now three, right?
Two older dogs and two puppies.
Yeah. Oh, full. I thought there was only. I miscounted. I didn't.
So
So
yeah.
what happens if you do not allow the dog to be a dog? Like, they
Yeah,
will
yeah.
become just stressed and they will find something to feel like a dog, and it usually will be at the expense of your possessions.
It's exactly that. And I think also that carries over to people, not the same way, but analogously, meaning that if
Oh
we
yeah,
don't have an outlet where we can be our true self, eventually we get frustrated, we suffer. Of course, we may express frustration or suffering in a different way. Like somebody may become depressed and they're like, what
yep,
is happening to me? Well,
yep.
you cannot express yourself. That's what is happening to you.
Yeah, yeah. Our brains just allow us to like build some abstractions around the same thing that dogs just turn into. I will chew up your clothing.
Yeah. Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
and similarly, Molly's older now, but when she was younger, you know, she still has it as an older dog where she needs to get out. And this morning, before I spoke with you, that was my morning, was taking her for just a walk around outside. Um, but that's really how it started. And so I would go do that. She's not the smartest dog, so she will walk around with me, and then she understands that like I'm trying to get something out of the water, but she of course can't fish. So what she does is like picks up rocks and stones and leaves from the water and shows them to me and is proud of herself. And I'm like, good job, you've done well.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. But I think what is showing there is that maybe she cannot understand what you are doing exactly, but she understands that you are doing something and she wants to help.
oh, and she wants
Like,
to help, and
yeah.
she understands that it's looking for something. She just, you know, given enough time, and probably Molly's quite a small dog. She's probably like 25 pounds, maybe like 12 kilograms, quite small.
What type of dog is it or breed?
A various mix. She looks sort of like, at some point maybe she'll come in here. She's like a dachshund in that she's long and has shorter legs, but she's like twice as big as one of those.
I
Um,
see.
so the answer to your question is a dog of some sort.
Uh-huh.
um, And so, if she were bigger, perhaps she could go into deeper water and she might catch herself a fish, but she's relegated to the shallows. She doesn't swim quite well.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is because there are dogs, like for example the poodle, which is used
Hmm.
as, in many cases, like a fashion statement.
Oh,
And you
yes.
would
Yeah.
think
It's a
that the
hunting dog.
poodle is actually just an accessory for fashion, when in reality it's actually a hunting dog that
It's
can
a hunting
go,
dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
for fishing,
Yeah.
waterfowl, whatever.
Molly's origins are likely to be a mix of some sort of herding breed because she has, some dogs will like want to be beside you, or some dogs are very willful and want to pull you. Molly will get behind you and hit you with her head to tell you which way she wants you to go.
Oh
And she
yes.
understands like the chase the sheep and tell the sheep where to go. Like that's in her nature. But she also, I think, could have something that was a hunting dog. Like she knows to chase animals and that kind of thing. And she's quite clever at it. She's caught in some animals before, and you're like,
Oh.
put that down. That's not dinner. Um, but whatever she was mixed with that was not the smaller dog has like thick hair. It's some kind of like herding dog because she loves doing that. She does it to other dogs. Like she chases them around. That's her version of playing. She doesn't wrestle. She chases.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, and of course, herding dogs do that as well. Like, there are
Oh
different
yeah,
types of herding, but one of them is the look. Of course, you
yeah.
mentioned
She
the
does not do
headbutt.
the look.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she does the go get and push and
Uh-huh.
nudge and like when we first got her, we did not get her as a puppy. We got her, this is, I think it's typical all in the world, but in the US, people will like abandon dogs, and there's establishments that will take the dogs from the streets and try to get them good owners. And so we got Molly that way. Like we just found her at a shelter, and when we first got her, she would even do, and I know this is common of some of like the dogs that herd sheep. She will place her teeth on the back of your leg, not to full bite, but to like next level encouragement to the animal that like you must move or it's going to be unpleasant.
Yeah, that's
And
definitely a herding trait. Yeah.
yeah, we had to teach her not to do that one too much. She understands now like not to strangers with those kind of things after 10 years. Because you could imagine if she does that to somebody who's unfamiliar with a dog, that would be
Yeah,
scary for them. They would think it's a bite.
yeah, for sure, they would feel assaulted.
Yeah, they would be frightened.
The thing
Um,
is that small dogs kind of get a free pass.
she's big enough where she might not. She's like one of those like awkward in between sizes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always do. Your dogs are both the adults are both quite large, right? They're like bigger dogs.
70 pounds around, like that.
Yeah, so I always, at least where we are in the US, like I always feel bad for people who are worried about their dogs that are larger because like the dog will play, but they're afraid that the dog is going to scare somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's tough. Like that's the dog's nature. Like once they know that they can trust the human is a plaything sometimes. And so like
Uh-huh.
I always feel bad that the owner's like, that wasn't him trying to bite you. I'm like, I know. The dog's 75, 80 pounds. Like, if he bit me, it would be very bad. I'm aware he's playing with me.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And of course, there is training that goes into this. But basically, if you have a dog of that size or larger, even,
Mm-hmm.
you have to also teach them to how to behave around others. Because, for example, there is a little kid and the dog wants to play,
Yes.
and just out of clumsiness, the kid falls on the ground. I mean, yeah, you have
Yep.
to be careful.
And like, it's, you having four of them, I'm sure you know this. We don't because Molly has like lots of little neighbor dog friends, but like, dogs settle that kind of rough play on their own. Like, they have their own way to communicate. That was too rough for me. And the way that we tell the dogs is often not a way they understand. Like,
Yeah.
when dogs roughhouse, it will almost sound like the other dog has really been hurt, and all the other dog is saying is like, no more. And like, to human, you'll think like, the dogs just hurt each other really badly, and it's like, no, like they just don't have refined language. Like, ow a little bit is the same word as ow a lot of bit in dog.
Correct, correct. It's exactly that. And another thing they do where you think that they were assaulted is when they want to express that, hey, this was scary, they will do like an alarming kind of a bark, I guess, or yapping, whatever you call it, where it's like, whoa,
Oh
whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa, whoa.
yeah,
And
yeah. Whenever anything occurs, yes,
yeah, and you will think, oh, what happened to you? Were you assaulted? And it's really nothing. You have to just let
yeah,
it happen. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You have to really be again probably key skill in almost anything in life. Patience, like you have to accept that they communicate different than you, and just don't overreact because if you do, then they will continue to be stressed.
Yeah, 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 exactly,
Uh,
exactly. Uh,
but the are you going through this with the pups? Like when we were trying to teach Molly not to put her teeth on things, one of the keys that we found is like we would use the strategy of like yipping like she heard us
yeah.
to tell her no. Do you do the same?
So yeah, the idea is that basically you have to communicate with the dogs, at least the way I do it, unambiguously. So if
Mm-hmm.
they do something you do not like, what I do is I respond the way the dog would respond. So I will do a loud sound that is
Yep.
brief and straight to the point. And the dogs
Interrupt
know
the behavior.
exactly,
Yep.
and the dogs immediately let go. Like it's really
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, same. It was really interesting to do that because I had dogs as a child, but Molly was the first time I had a dog as like it's my dog as a grown up, as a
Uh-huh.
full human being adult, and I was like, this is not as easy as I remember. It's
Because of course when you are a child you don't have the responsibility of taking care of the animal in all of its facets. Maybe you play with a dog, but that's about it. Then you're just a child, you play with everything, so it doesn't
yep.
really.
And even if you take care of some of its needs, like give it a place to go to the bathroom, let it out, things like that. You don't have the repercussion, I think, is part of it. Like if Molly were to bite somebody, that now I'm involved in it as an adult. When you're a child, it's mom's problem, dad's problem, perhaps
Exactly,
nobody's problem. You don't realize it's a problem.
it's exactly
Um,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember when I was a teenager and I had my first dog, I would take care of the dog, but there were also
mhm.
times where I wanted to prioritize my own game time. And I was like, okay, I need to play football now, so you have to wait.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
nowadays, I would say, okay, we do what the dogs want, and afterwards, I will do what I want.
yeah, yeah. Starting the day with them like that. Do you like? So, will you walk with them in the morning? Like that?
Yeah,
That's kind
yeah.
of like the.
That's
Yeah,
basically the
same.
best
Like it.
thing, and the first thing, sorry, and the very good thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. For me, like I will take Molly out before I bathe and do my morning routines to take care
Uh-huh.
of myself.
Uh-huh.
And in a way, walking is part of taking care of yourself as well. But
Indeed, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
But
yeah.
how
That
is it
I
when you
mean,
fish? Like, of course, you told me that she tries to help you in the way she does, but in terms of the effectiveness of your fishing, like, does she interfere basically? Like, does she
no, no, no.
startle the
She's
fish?
she's
Or
she's quite smart, so she understands. We have a pretty good routine with it in that like she understands the game is to follow me. So like I will go upstream and she will follow behind me and she plays the area that I've already fished. So she in her head, she's probably looking for what I've missed. And that's her
yes,
job or task when we're out there. But no, no, she's not really disruptive at all. She also sort of understands like she doesn't want to get near the hook because she's seen me accidentally hook myself. And so she understands pain from that and things that way. She is never I've had Molly nearly 11 years. I've never accidentally hooked her while fishing, which is good because that would be dreadful.
yeah,
Um, and so she understands to stay away from the hook. She understands to like kind of be in the space that I've already been. So she's kind of the great fishing companion. Like she's perfect with it. The only time that she's ever disruptive is if she wants to chase any of the birds that frequent by the water.
mm,
And
hmm,
it is not in the way that she ruins the fishing. It's in the way that like some of the birds are probably easy prey for her, and some of the larger we call them geese or gooses.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're
geese,
quite
yeah,
big
yeah.
birds,
Oh, yeah,
and
and they are
like
aggressive,
and well
at least
they're
here.
territorial where their young are, and so I think that Molly could probably win an altercation with one goose, but there's usually like more than one, and she has no fear of them. She's just like, I'm going to go chase them around. I'm like, I don't want to fight a goose. Geese are actually like the only animal that I have ever had trouble with, because they also hate bicycles.
Oh,
Because like the often same thing, here, a lot of the best places to ride a bicycle are around the waterways. There'll be like a path along them and things like that, and prime location for water birds. And the geese, again, like it mainly comes down to if they're young or anywhere nearby, they don't want you bicycling near there, and they will like get mad at you and let you know and try to chase you. And it's not in any way dangerous. It's just again, you don't want to fight a goose. Yeah, it's not. It's like I don't want to deal with this type of problem.
yeah. I have walked past geese with their
Mhm.
young ones as well. When I would be alone, the geese would act all tough. When I
Yes,
would be
yeah.
with the dogs, they would just
They do not
try
want
to
the
fight.
dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because
they
they're
they
begging.
know they know that the dogs think that they're food, and so they.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess there is something in I don't know the how the dog carries itself in the gait of the dog or something that communicates threat. Because I
Oh,
have
and the
seen
dog's
this.
probably doing it intentionally. Like
Of course.
we've probably lost that ability or that
Yeah,
that like instinct.
yeah.
Dogs are good at that in general. Like where you are, you're pretty sparse with like people nearby, correct?
There is nobody around. There is a village
Yeah.
further up the valley, but where I am, I'm alone.
Do you ever have your dogs like in the village with you at all, or no? They've
Yeah.
not.
So now with the puppies especially, I try to do it daily. This past week I haven't been able due to other commitments, but generally the idea is to go to the village and expose the puppies in particular to as many social situations as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Get them calmed and used to it. Um, you will probably then be no surprise that like the dogs are really perceptive to like human disposition, and like if somebody is behaving aggressively, the dogs will notice it before you sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, it's just they're closer with their instincts. There's less interrupting them for sure.
Yep.
But I've always been impressed with that. Like Molly has detected like somebody being aggressive in public when I didn't even like acknowledge that the person was there amongst a crowd of people. She would watch that person. Her ears will go up, and she's alert before it could possibly be a problem for her. And it's impressive, and so I'm sure the geese have
It's
the same
amazing.
thing. They go, "That dog is ready."
Yeah, exactly. It's all these non-verbal cues, which of course,
Yeah.
with people we can also be more attentive to them. But it's as you said, basically we have lost this skill.
Yeah, we don't practice it. I think there are likely people who practice it, like spies and people who are in like intelligence work.
Of course.
But for you and I, we don't get that practice.
No, we are just carefree. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
it's just strangers walking by.
exactly. But I assume who somebody probably does that. People who sell things are probably very attuned to the disposition of the people they're talking to, and not even in the same way of like aggression. It's like, is this person, you know, what is their disposition? Can I? Because I think a person probably doesn't want you to be calm. They probably want you to be excitable, and so they go like, how can I, sort of stress this person to sell them things and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
They
sounds
they
right.
probably did, they probably detect the opposite thing. Instead of like somebody who's like angry, they look for somebody who's like very excited or scared or something like that. I've never done that. I've never done a job where you try to sell things. I assume it's actually very hard.
Of course, there is a skill involved for sure, and especially when it comes to these bazaar types of jobs, where it's like you have a lot of people coming and going, and
Yep.
there is no kind of the way it would be like in a more fixed setup, like insurance, where there is like a negotiation. It's all happening spontaneously, and you have to be
Yes. Yes.
on top of things.
Different cultures have different versions of that. I was just in New York City. In the US, there's a lot more like formal, structured shopping. But if
Mm-hmm.
you go to like the larger cities like New York City, like there is like street selling and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like it is refreshing in a way because it is that's got to be very hard. Like you just must
Yeah.
be very used to just like fishing when you throw the line in the water and nothing works. You must just not be frustrated when nothing works over and over again because that's numbers is probably the name of that game.
Yeah, yeah, and very good example, very good connection there because I think it's exactly that. Like basically, how did you call it? Cast the line,
Yeah, yeah, cast. Yep.
and basically, if it responds, you keep at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not in control over what's going to happen.
Oh, sorry. Low battery. 1 second. Let me plug in the
Yeah, no
thing.
trouble.
Yeah. Okay,
I
good.
actually
Very
don't
good.
know if I'm going to have that problem.
So,
No,
so
I am
yeah.
somehow plugged in. I didn't know I was.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I thought I was, but yeah, good.
Yeah.
Um,
That is, that is the ultimate drawback of like the laptops and things like that. They need to be charged so much more frequently than like the phones and stuff like that.
Indeed, and it's nice to be able to have a computer with you when you go outside. And I think it's also nice to be able, like, have a call like this outside. And
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
other hand, I think it's good that they have a limited battery because then
Hmm.
you don't get sucked into
Put
it.
them away.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
get put them away. Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's no system that doesn't have a benefit and a drawback, like if there was, we would not have any fun and healthy debate about like what works and what's worth it.
Yeah.
We'd be very bored.
Yeah, exactly. I think basically the more I experience the world, the more I realize that it's all a matter of degree. Like there isn't a thing which is inherently bad or inherently good, but it's a matter of the situation and what degree does the situation tolerate. For example, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me about diving in great depths. And now,
Okay.
of course, I don't know technically, but
Yeah, I know
basically,
nothing about it really.
me neither. But basically, the idea was that at a certain depth, given a certain pressure, oxygen is basically bad for you. It's poisonous. And I'm like, okay, sounds like what I am now thinking, where it's the degree, it's the situation. It's not
Yeah, yeah.
because you would think like oxygen. That's what gives me
It's
life, right?
required. Yeah.
Yeah. Turns
What
out
what
that
is
it's situational.
did this person explain what they do? Like, what do you do to
So
offset that?
you have to inhale some different gas. Basically, it has to do with density and things like that.
Huh. So when they're diving with those tanks, I assume that was just oxygen, but I guess the answer is no.
Yeah, it's
There's
more
more to
beyond
it.
that. Yeah. Of course, now
Yeah.
I'm definitely not the right person to elaborate on
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
but
yeah. No, I mean, that's
it's the
neither am I. I
impression
just
I got, and
yeah, yeah. I would assume like yeah, I would have assumed that they were basically either pure oxygen or perhaps what we breathe is the natural atmosphere is mixed, but that is true of everything. Like there is really context and being aware of like why someone is doing something they're doing is truly everything, and there's no unambiguous correct answer to everything. That is definitely true.
yeah.
Um, I
And
meant to ask you. So,
yes,
go
please.
first.
No,
Sorry.
I just wanted to add to this, and that's why I think like a good default, not necessarily good full stop, but a good default is to try to do things close to the natural, because chances are that they are more consistent with our rhythms, what we are more likely to be tolerating, what is more likely to be
Mm-hmm.
sustainable.
I mean, I think that is a safe approach to most things, and generally just like going cautiously with what makes sense, and then like reacting when you hit a wall. Like, don't try to presuppose what the wall is going to be. Wait till you find it.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
We can't. I think culturally, and perhaps this is all over the world. Perhaps it's different for me than you, but like the world seems pretty obsessed with finding all of the walls and barriers ahead of time now, so you have an unimpeded path through everything.
Yeah.
And I think that there's probably folly and like probably a great failing of the way we do things right now.
I think it leads to overthought, something that I experienced myself, but
Oh
fundamentally,
yes,
because you want to plan for the uninterrupted journey, you
yeah,
have to do infinite planning, basically.
yeah. You have to do infinite things before you do the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I'm sure you feel this way with the hiking, but like that's why I enjoy cycling. Is basically like for the most part, once you're going, you have no alternative but to deal with the reality on the ground. Like, if you go somewhere and you have cycled 10 miles, you have no alternative but to cycle 10 miles back.
exactly,
If you want
exactly,
to sleep, or perhaps now sleep outside.
exactly,
uh,
exactly. And I
but
really like that. I really like that because exactly what it does is it removes the option. The
mm,
option to renege on your promise, on your
hmm
plan, where it's like, you know
yeah,
what, I have committed, I cannot commit halfway. It's not, it's
yeah,
either you commit fully or basically you deal with the consequences.
yeah. Like I almost think there's a common thread with all that. Like I see a lot of people enjoying traveling in some way, and traveling whether they're self-propelled in some way. And I don't, humans seem to have always had homes, caves, or whatnot, or a tent, or some sort of. But like we also have a nature of like patrolling or exploring our surroundings, and I think that's part of our like natural state. Like dogs, it's really clear that they patrol a small area. It seems like we, probably being larger than dogs, like want to patrol a larger area, so like travel is natural to us.
Yeah, of course, and of course, humans are, if we see it from an animal perspective, they are large predators and extremely
Oh yeah,
dangerous at that.
yeah. Like we are, one of the scariest things you could run into in the wild in some ways.
Of course,
Uh,
well, I think in many ways we are by far the most dangerous predator. Like
oh yeah,
all the
especially
others
now. But it,
combined, we blow them out of the water, essentially.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, even when you think about like a large animal like a bear, when it reacts angrily at a human, that's fear. That's not aggression that I'm going to hunt a human. That's like, oh God, the human is here.
Yes, 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 exactly.
What is the human doing away from the tent? I gotta leave now or fight the human. Like it is
Hmm.
a scared reaction.
Correct, correct.
I don't think anything as an entire species regularly hunts us.
No, no, no,
No,
for sure not. I think
no.
not. No, no.
Like
And
like incidentally, we'll have conflict and sometimes win for sure, but not
mhm,
not like not like dogs and geese, right? Like, geese do not
correct.
hunt dogs. Dogs hunt geese.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah.
just to comment on what you were talking about with the exploratory facet that humans have,
Mm-hmm.
this is something I have experienced myself with walks, where these open vistas, when I walk and I get to see the landscapes, I get
Mm-hmm.
the feeling that they trigger in me what I liken to the wolf within. Of course, I don't mean to say literally I'm like a wolf, but there
Mm-hmm.
is something there which is feral. And even though we
Oh
are
yes, yes.
cultured
You
and civilized and everything, there is that which remains feral, wild.
absolutely. Like there's an instinctive, like I think what you're saying is like when you come upon like a bit of high ground and you can see area in front of you, like you instinctively. I don't think it's enjoy. It probably like feels comfortable. Like it feels like I'm supposed to do this. This is how I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is how I check my. It's instinctual. It's probably this is how I check my surroundings for safety or for prey.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, humans. I assume all of us do there's an instinctual experience of like coming upon an open view that is like imprinted into our genetics or memory, that like this is something you do to function properly, like this is
Yeah.
part of your natural state. um
Yeah.
Probably much like a bird getting on a tall perch. It's like our version of
Yeah.
being on the top of a tree. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because I noticed that too. Like in cycling there's a lot of like love and hate with riding or going uphill, because it is difficult, but the result is worth it. Both in you get to see your surroundings and probably satisfy this urge, but then you have, when you're hiking, this is not really a thing, but when you're cycling, going downhill is exhilarating.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
terrifying, but it's exhilarating. And so you get the instinctual reward for your action, and perhaps the foolish reward of then being able to go very fast.
Do you have like a pavement where you cycle, or is it mountain road, mountain trail?
It's all. I guess this is where Pennsylvania is lucky. So obviously humans in town. I live in a small city of probably like 90,000 people.
Okay.
And so there's quite a good number of roads and pavement, and there are a couple of like park paths that are also paved, and you can ride your bike there. But then, owing to like the terrain here, there'll be dirt paths that are along like some of the rivers and things like that that are also rideable for like an average person. And then there are people that do like the crazy mountain biking thing.
Uh-huh.
And I have done that a little bit when I was younger, but now that's a little bit out of my like comfort zone at my age. I will still do like a little of that, but not nearly as much. That's like a young man's game to like
Yeah.
go hurtling down rocks and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's also expensive. The bicycle that you need to go do those kind of things is much more complicated and thus expensive. Like, most bicycles are just a steel or aluminum frame and some
Mhm.
tires. Those
And
ones
these
have
need
like
suspensions, of course.
suspension bits and things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yep. Um, and they're interesting, but back to easy to inspect. One of the reasons I like cycling, and I would never be like a hobbyist of like motorcycle racing or something to that effect, is it is so trivial to take a bicycle apart. There's a
Yeah.
bicycle repair stand behind me. Like
Nice, nice.
it is relieving to be able to take something apart down to every component,
Yeah, yeah, of
and
course.
inspect it.
It's
Yeah.
down to the last screw, really, with the
Yeah,
bicycle.
I mean, the only thing that I don't know how to do on a bicycle is the part that the steering
Yeah,
fork turns into. You need like a fancy press to push that together, and so
yeah.
that bit I don't know how to deal with, and that's okay.
The part with the
There are other
gears is
humans.
also a bit more involved. The gear, unless you have one without gears, but I think you
I
can
have
have.
I have two, one with and one without.
Mm.
The gears are unlike a car; they're surprisingly easy. Like there's a cone of gears. They're arrayed. It's the opposite of what you might expect. In the rear of the bicycle, the big gear is the easy gear, and the small gear is the difficult gear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then there's just the derailleur, which basically pivots the chain amongst those things.
Yeah.
And the thing that people regard as complicated is that little bit that hangs down to keep the tension.
Yeah, 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 exactly, yeah.
And that tensioner is, again, it's a good number of mechanical parts in it, but it's basically a spring and some metal that is on a pivot so it can bend. And all it's doing is as you use a bigger or smaller gear, it is making the chain bigger or smaller relative to that so it doesn't fall off. And it's
Yeah, yeah,
quite simple. It's not bad.
yeah. Uh-huh.
The only problem of maintaining a bicycle is honestly that bicycles, if you ride them, get quite dirty. And so the maintenance is not pretty. Like there's dirt and
Yeah,
grease and gook that comes out of the bicycle as
yeah,
you try to
yeah.
keep it clean. And if you don't, the bicycle wears out. And so
Yes, exactly, exactly. What about the tires? Because of course depends on the road. They may wear out faster. You need to replace them frequently. How is that?
I maybe I don't know. I think they last
Tires
a
and
good while.
tubes, of course.
Well,
Or
tubes.
is it tubeless in your case?
I think you can do that, but I've not done that. Tubes depend on your luck. Because the reason you will need to patch and then replace a tube is you've run over something you did not want to run over, or basically you've knocked the air out of your tire and punctured it. That I still feel like you can generally like repair a tube. There's like fixing kits for them and
Yeah.
keep them going around. But like I would say like tubes wear out, and you'll end up ruining one if you cycle frequently within maybe like 6 months or so.
Okay.
But the tires are really robust. Like the tires that I have on the bicycle right now, I feel like I don't keep very strict track of them, but I think that they have over 2,000 miles on them. Like
Oh,
they've been there for a while. They're getting close to needing replacing, but they're pretty robust.
mm,
I know that there's a lot of variety in types of bicycle tires. Um, whether you like want to go fast or mountain biking, I know has like very expensive specific tires, but I just have like pretty basic,
uh-huh.
they're not the skinny racing tires that you might see an athlete use, and they're not mountain bike tires. They're somewhere in the middle, and I can ride on a road and I can ride on some dirt, and they work. Um,
Do you ever
but they're
do? Sorry, yeah, please go ahead.
I was going to say that I don't know much about them, but they seem pretty robust. I've heard people complain, but I am not one of them. Like
Hmm.
flat tire, annoying, but you fix it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever do trips with other cyclists where you like five people all go by bike, or is it a solo
Oh
thing?
no, not yet. I would like to. Like I will do longer day trips on my own, where I'm gone the full day and then come back. But I've not done the whole thing where people will camp with that. Um, I'm attempting to. I live with my girlfriend. She cycles a little bit with me. I'm attempting to encourage her to do that because I think it'll be like fun if we can eventually do that as like a group. But I've not done like a group outing where you stay overnight, and they are popular here because there
Ah,
is a lot of camping in like this area, but I've not done it yet.
yeah.
To me, it would be intimidating to try to carry that much stuff on the bicycle. Like I would be tempted to overplan for that, in that I would try to like not have too much weight,
Yeah,
and that will probably be a disaster of like obsessing over details.
but if you could then avoid that by doing a 1 day trip, not 1 day, same day trip, like you leave in the
Oh,
morning
I
and you
do.
come in the evening, kind of thing.
Yeah, I do that frequently. Like I will often, one of the ways that I got into doing the cycling was to go fishing. Like
Yeah.
it's an easy way to not have to. If you can drive your car to a spot, it's probably not a great place to fish because everybody can drive their car to that spot. And so some of the most effective places to fish are a little bit harder to get to. And a bicycle is a really good tool for that here, where there's a lot of trails. And so, that's I will frequently, especially in the spring and fall, the cooler seasons, but not winter. You know, pack up fishing rod, pack up food, pack up like myself, and leave at like 5 in the morning, come back at like 8 at night, 9 at night
Oh,
after
beautiful,
fishing.
beautiful.
It is
Speaks
the
to my
only
heart. Oh
again.
my goodness.
I mean, I don't know what type of because in Cyprus everything's very hilly. Yeah.
Oh, hilly, rocky, mountainy. I don't know whether mountainous. Actually, no. Cyprus and other areas around here, like Greece, they are actually mountainous countries. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
not just hills. It's really rough.
Yeah. You could probably wherever there is altitude, there are then creeks and there are then fishing to be had. Like your own videos, you have running water that comes down where you live.
Yeah, right
Um,
there. But it's not a creek with flowing water all year round. It's really a stream that is basically powered by what's it called? Rainwater.
Rainwater. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you call this? Rain river?
You'll hear in the
Okay.
U.S. they'll denote things by like size. It'll be like creek is pretty much always there. A stream will sometimes be there. I think stream is the right way that somebody here would do it. They will say like spring fed or not spring fed if there's like underground water that feeds
Okay,
it.
okay, okay.
Um, but what's probably true is that probably does feed into a larger, more permanent stream somewhere,
Yep,
probably further from your property.
yep.
Um,
There
you
is a river.
could,
There's a river down here.
yeah, you could go about the cycling and fishing adventure, or hiking to do it either way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And
it is very fun.
just to say, further up the mountain, there are
Mhm.
in my area there are three waterfalls
Oh yeah,
just in
yeah.
my area.
Permanent,
So, yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
they're always flowing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean those fish you would think a fish would not want to be near where waterfall is streaming into a pool, but it's actually exactly where they want to be. They like oxygenated and flowing water.
Mm.
Um, so you probably have great fishing. I don't know what kind of fish there are by you, but I'm sure that there are fish over there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but cycling where you are, I think, would be challenging. Like I think you would need to be very careful and learn a lot before you could do it, because cycling uphill is challenging but safe in general.
Mhm.
Cycling downhill on mountainous terrain is very challenging and very
Oh,
dangerous.
it's dangerous. I used to do it when I was a teenager, and all you
Mhm.
need is just one small stone, one rock to be in the wrong place, and you go down rolling.
Yep, yep. And it's not like you kind of hit the exact the proverbial nail on the head there. Is like it does not take much, even if you're experienced, for it to be a problem, because you're in a very delicate situation. If the bike is pointing downwards,
Yeah.
you're placing a lot of work on that front tire, and you are relying on it doing what you think it's going to do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Plus the brakes. It's really, really tough. And it's very easy when you cycle like that to break a collarbone, right? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Maybe not break, but fracture, like injure
yeah, yeah.
collarbone.
I've never done that. I fractured the front bone of my elbow before, but the collarbone, for people who do like the mountain bike racing, it's like given that they've had surgery there multiple times from injury, guaranteed.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
for me, I don't want that.
No, no, me neither. Yeah, yeah.
that it is a game for the. You said you did it when you were a teenager. It is a game for the teenagers or
Yeah, yeah.
very brave or very foolish people.
Usually it's very foolish, at least speaking from
Yes.
experience. Or
Yeah.
foolish in the sense that you don't know, you don't understand the consequences of your actions. Like, you don't
Yes,
understand that if you
exactly.
get injured, it's not just momentary pain. Depending on the
Oh
injury, it
yeah,
may be lifelong pain.
lifelong or just like people are unaware of like what those things will entail in terms of recovery time. Like if you like for example, when I fractured my elbow, you being unable to move it for like 6 to 8 weeks or whatever while it is healing atrophies you in a way that you don't know about, and then you're fixing that for months afterwards. Like you are, re-exercising, regaining the confidence to do the things that you've done before with the arm, because you worry that you've injured it irreparably and things like that. It's complicated. Yeah,
And that
it is
mental
true. Like
side
it.
is a lot of work as well.
Oh
Uh,
yes. Oh yes. Like our brains are very good at trying to stop us from doing things that we are afraid of, for sure.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah, yeah. But
give you fear.
the thing is that exactly if you don't try to push through that fear in this case, basically it's lost, it's gone.
Yeah, you,
Uh,
you you
yeah,
you have one mistake in your hobby, and you are no longer allowed to do it because your brain says no.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Um, I did want to ask you one thing. I was reading your website the other day. Or I don't know exactly when you posted it, but you were, I think, speaking about both an experience and a generality of like your nearby village getting replanned and redesigned.
yeah,
What?
yeah,
So that
yeah.
that happens here with touristy areas. Was I right to understand that like you had a bad experience with a tourist, perhaps, or
Not
saw a
a
tourist
tourist.
having a bad?
Yeah, so let me put some context here for somebody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
So recently I wrote a blog post with the title "When Your Country is a Theme Park." And the idea is that basically it's a tourist trap, and it's kind of like this artificial, simplified view of Cyprus, the Cypriotness of the thing, but it's all fake, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah. So to get to the specifics, the village is also converted into this tourist trap, and the specific trigger for me was they were organizing this supposedly authentically Cypriot wedding, and I was
Oh,
walking
so this was.
with my dogs in one
Mhm.
of I was telling you earlier that I socialized the puppies, and we were just
Yes.
walking by, and it was full of security people and incognito cops, that sort of thing. And some guy there was like, "Why are you here? You're not allowed to be here." And then, of course, I got angry. Like, who is this guy telling me what to do in my land?
This is a public thoroughfare, I assume.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it's exactly that. Like, if you want to basically exclude people, you have a private area, and then, of course,
Yeah.
that's your place. You do whatever you want, but you don't appropriate a
Yeah,
village.
you cannot take the public away.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I won't say what I said exactly because it doesn't matter. But I made it clear that if he insists, he is in real trouble, and
Yep.
I went through the wedding because I don't care.
Oh, so they
I went
were
through where I would have walked through. That's what I mean. Because I'm
yeah,
like,
so like
yeah, I
they were
don't care. This is a public space. I just walk by.
they were like expanding the wedding out into like the public boulevard and then like not accepting that traffic may want to walk past as they normally.
It's exactly that. Like enclose the commons basically. And I'm like,
I
okay, I understand that as the exception if the government has to do some, let's say there are fires, right? And we need to implement some policy. Okay, I
Mhm.
understand. But not for your
not
wedding.
not because a commercial entity wants to
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
wedding. Yeah.
yeah.
I fear that that is like an export of my country because that kind of thing is rampant in the United States. Even my town is not immune to that. So my town being a small city, part of it has like a nice small downtown with shops. And Americans love the idea of like the quaint small town downtown. It's like
Uh-huh.
part of our ethos, I think, where we want to go into the city, but not the big city, and we want to get food and we want to stroll and do that. And that part, so my city is bisected by a river,
Okay.
north to south, and there's because of that, there's like two central parts of the city, one on each side of the river. The one on the north side of the city is it's artificial. It's like very touristy. There's stores and there's restaurants, but they're not stores and restaurants that anybody from here frequently goes to because they are very expensive. And similarly, there is this like little square area. This irks me frequently. That is public. It is a public square, but they will close it off or attempt to close it off with security for like an event, and it is mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can, especially if it's a new occurrence where you are, like being viscerally frustrated with it makes sense to me. In some regards, like because it happens so frequently here, I'm just like,
Yeah, you're
throw my
conditioned.
hands up. That restaurant next door to this gets to take over that public square for a little while. There's nothing I can do, but it is. I think I don't know if it's common in Europe, but in the United States, like that happens all too often, and it's always at the behest of like money.
Yeah,
It's if
yeah,
they
yeah,
can
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
have
exactly.
an event that resembles the public square or the big public wedding that you're speaking of,
Uh-huh.
but without actually having it. The public can't actually be there.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's like we will give the impression that this is like an open space. It's basically the whole village celebrating the marriage.
Everybody's come here to celebrate.
Yeah, but in reality, no, it's a closed space.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like that is so. I guess that's a question. Like I don't know
Mhm.
because obviously I've been
It
to
happens.
a
It
couple of
happens.
countries in Europe, but is it common in Europe as well?
The last several years, it's definitely noticeable. At least in Cyprus, it's definitely noticeable. Not just here. It's not the first time that it happened here, but basically because of that trigger, I was like, you know what, I will write about it.
Yeah,
But
you're frustrated, of course. Yeah, yeah.
but it's common. Yeah.
I think the impression in the Americas or the United States at least is that like European countries have better protections for their common spaces and like better concept of the commons. In the United States, it's certainly like only certain locations really care about their commons. The rest of it, the commons are something that can be appropriated for like commercial interests like that. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's this insane state of affairs. Everybody pays for something, and then somebody gets to take it away.
Yeah, yeah, and for me, that's basically the test of what do we consider commons? Because the idea of commons to me is that they are priceless. So you
Yes,
don't
yes.
put a monetary value on them. It's like for everybody, we are actually all equal in accessing the commons. And I understand some exceptions, as I said, for
Yeah,
exceptional
yeah.
circumstances. But the norm is that everybody is equal with
Yep,
regard
yep.
to the commons.
Yeah. And it does, you're right. Like when you see something like this, you realize like that is not truly what we're talking about here. There's actually not equal access to it. In my head, I'm imagining an analogy like in the United States, many cities don't have good commons transit. Like they don't have like a public transit infrastructure. Um, and New York City does in many ways. And it's not as though you can go buy two different types of tickets for the subway in New York City. It's all the same. If you
Mm-hmm.
have $1 million or you have 290, I think is the current fare to use it
Uh-huh.
for the day.
Uh-huh.
Um, you use the same train, it costs the same. It's the same thing for you.
Good.
Um, Other places in the U.S. are not like that, and like it is sad to hear that it's happening elsewhere because yeah, it does turn things into a mockery. Like in my city, the tendency is like the north side downtown is the fake downtown, and the south side on the other side of the river
Uh-huh.
is more authentic and normal. And it's simply because it's poor and nobody wants to hold their event there.
Yes, yes, yes. The thing,
Yeah.
though, is
Ugh.
because for me, I'm not against anybody having an opulent event, but it matters for us to be in favor of the commons as commons, because then that's how you lose it eventually, and then
Mm.
there is no space that is a shared space. Like imagine with you mentioned earlier, like the fishing spots are those that are hard to access, right? But
Mm-hmm.
imagine in the not so distant future that this becomes kind of a hipster thing to do, and now you can no longer go to any place to fish because it's appropriated even though it doesn't belong to anybody.
Oh yeah, and there are different parts of my country where like you can so some parts of the U.S. like waterways are commons, like they're legally you can't own the waterway. Some places you can buy the land bordering it, and then somebody's not allowed to go on that part of the waterway, and so
Ooh.
somebody could make that
Yep, yep, yep.
private out of what was not private before, and that's yeah, it's quite scary. It's people speak of capitalism running awry, and like maybe perhaps that will be the limit if nobody has like anything truly that's like public good. Maybe that will be a big hallmark of change, whether it's libraries or the town square, or maybe it will be fishing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fishermen can be
It
quite
totally
angry.
is. And they have equipment that weighs a few pounds, so they
Yeah,
can
you do
throw it
not
at
want to
you.
get hooked. That's what we need to hook the whomever told
The
the
decision
wedding
makers.
host. Yeah, the decision maker in your village that told the wedding that you could post security. It's okay. Uh, yeah, I
Okay.
read that. It was very much like it's the universality. You realize that the things that you're experiencing in different parts of the world are there's different flavors of them, but everybody has the same thing,
Yeah, yeah,
good and
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, that's the other thing where what the internet has made readily available is the fact that we are all experiencing similar things. And
Mm.
we can relate to each other. Of course, there are differences, but
Hmm.
fundamentally, there are all these tensions that are common, these phenomena that are very similar.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You read it. You're like, I have never been to Cyprus. I don't know what Cypriot culture is exactly. I can make an analogy of it in my head because I've seen a couple of videos of your location,
Uh-huh.
but like, I do understand somebody wanting to fake an authentic experience in my type of culture. It's like, oh, this happens everywhere. Sheesh. Yeah. Yeah. That is the good part of the internet. The bad part of the internet is, of course, sharing all the bad common things that people do. But
Yeah.
hopefully we figure that out.
Yeah. And to connect to what we were saying earlier, part of that is slower paced activities, activities that bring you closer to nature,
Mm.
because eventually it's like what is the expression, touch grass? I think in the most literal sense,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
actually helps in the most literal sense.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I tease. My girlfriend will say, she's like, I just need to go sit outside in the grass for a bit. And I'm like, no, I understand. Like, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is true. Yeah, we in a way, all of these societal things we do are us collectively just stressing ourselves with things that are not right. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right.
Huh,
Very well, very
cool.
well.
Well, I did want to ask
Yes, please
your
ask me.
dinner
But I would
plans. Did
say that
I?
let's close on this because I will need to leave
Yes.
soon as well. Yes, please.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, this is probably when we were planning to run to anyway, so I didn't want to hold you too long. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so that was the question.
Yeah. I
Uh,
happened to, as I looked back up to my computer, the timestamp is in the top
yes,
corner. I'm like,
good.
oh, we've been talking for quite a bit. You need to get dinner.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Greg. I had a
Yeah, it
very
was
good
great to
time.
talk to you. It was really interesting to hear about what's happening by you. It was great to ask about
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, keep doing this. This is very cool. It was very fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. And I always have a good time. And part of the good time, it also connects to what we discussed, is that it is natural. It flows on its own, and I just go with the flow. And I don't
Yep,
stress about, oh, is the structure I had in mind beforehand exactly the one that took
that
form?
occurred.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. No, it's very good. We as humans probably benefit or would benefit from everybody doing more quick, not casual, but because we were talking about some pretty interesting and deep things, but more conversations with somebody that maybe wouldn't do that with. It's I'm leaving this feeling good. I'm going to go to my lunch. You're going to go to your dinner, probably content, happy. People
Yep,
should do it
yep.
more.
Agreed,
Yeah,
100%. Very good, very
excellent.
good. So let's call it a day. I will close and
Yep.
then terminate, stop the recording. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And if you have any links, by the way, send them to me and I will take care of it in the
I
description.
I don't yet, but when I start documenting the Android mayhem,
Uh-huh.
I will share it with you. I'll be in touch.
Very good, very good, very good. So take care, Greg, and goodbye for now.
Yep.
Bye bye, bye bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye. And goodbye from my side, folks. Stop recording.